Ayubowan everybody. We are conducting today another of the series of lectures that we conduct with the distinguished visiting fellows under the AAOU fellowship. So the AAOU fellowship is the inter-university staff exchange fellowship that the Open University of Sri Lanka is offering from 2017. So this fellowship provides the platform for capacity building and exchange of knowledge and experience between the staff in the member universities of the Asian Association of Open Universities. Today, the first lecture would be conducted by Dr. Soumya from the University of Indira Gandhi National Open University. Let me introduce Dr. Soumya. She is an assistant professor at School of Social Work, Indira Gandhi Open University, New Delhi, India. She did her bachelor's in sociology from Miranda House and master's in social work at Department of Social Work, University of Delhi. And she was awarded with a University Gold Medal for her work, and followed by a year of policy research at ActionAid, Chandigarh, India, in the area of right to food. She held a PhD in social work from University of Delhi and was a recipient of junior and senior research fellowship from UGC between 2003 and 2006. Prior to joining IGNOU, that is Indira Gandhi National Open University, she taught at University of Delhi as a lecturer in Department of Social Work. She received a visiting fellowship to Shanghai Open University, China in 2014 and Commonwealth Fellowship in 2018 and 2021. She won 2018 Young Innovator Award for her paper at the 32nd Annual Conference of the Asian Association of Open Universities. She has received research project grant under ICSSR IMPRESS, Impactful Policy Research in Social Sciences, scheme for her research proposal on impact of Swachh Bharat Abhiyan on rural health and hygiene practices 2019 to 2021. She has published books and several articles in national and international journals. She has presented several papers in national and international seminars and webinars. She has been invited resource person in several universities across India. So her academic and research interest includes fieldwork, social work education, open and distance education, tribal issues, and community organization. In the Open University, she is working in collaboration with Dr. Ruminda Vimalasiri, the director of Learner Support Unit, and her work is on the field of learner support system, and she would be comparing the learner support systems in the Open Universities in two countries, the Open University of Sri Lanka and the Indira Gandhi National Open Universities. So Soumya, it is a great privilege that you are here and you offer to present this lecture to the Open University of Sri Lanka as well as to the other universities and other interested people, because this lecture would be webcasted to the other universities. So we here conducting this from the International Relations Unit of the Open University of Sri Lanka, and this session is hosted by the Center for Education Technology and Media in the Open University of Sri Lanka. So I would cordially call upon to the podium and invite you to conduct this lecture. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Prasad, for your very kind words. I would like to extend heartfelt gratitude and regards to our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor PMC Tilakratne, Deputy Vice Chancellor, sir, and the entire OUSL family for giving me this opportunity to be here today amongst all of you as part of AAOU Inter-University Staff Exchange Fellowship. My special thanks to International Relations Unit for their entire collaboration, entire coordination in conducting this fellowship program so seamlessly. My thanks goes also to Dr. Ruminda, my collaborator, for agreeing to collaborate, for giving his valuable time and inputs, and collaborating with me on the proposed research. So thank you one and all. And a very good morning and a warm welcome to today's session. Today I'll be talking on learner support services. An effective learner support service is an important component of any open and distance learning university. And in the view of the ongoing pandemic due to COVID-19, it is all the very more important to offer our learner support services. And there has been a paradigm shift which has basically necessitated a movement, a transition from the traditional teacher-centric face-to-face delivery to online delivery of not only the academic content, but also the learner support services. And with this changing time, it is very important for the educators also to extend their help to the students, address their problems and challenges, because it's a time of anxiety for everyone. It's been a difficult time, not only for the educators, but also to the students. So we need to be very sympathetic, very empathetic to our students, and we have to strengthen our learner support services. And also with the advancement of information and communication technology, it's been really helpful for the open and distance learning universities to strengthen and to offer an effective learner support services. So with this, I would like to also, before we go about details of what are the technological innovations and what are the digital ways how we can offer learner support services, I would like to briefly talk about the learners. Our learners are very different from the conventional university learners. Our learners are very mature, they come from various age groups, and most of the learners are between age 20 to 40 years. Many of them are married, more female learners, and they have responsibilities of both the family life, they are employed, so they have to work, and they are studying while they are working. So it's a triple responsibility, and so we have to understand the needs of the learners when we are planning our learner support services. We also know that more of the learners are mature with varied experiences. Their attitude towards learning is very different. Many of them may be second chance learners, like they have studied in conventional universities, then taken a gap of certain years because of family circumstances, and they're coming back after some years to continue with their education. So there are second chance learners. They may approach the education with little confidence, and they need to be motivated, they need to be encouraged to continue with their studies. Because we often see that in open and distance learning, we have the problem of dropouts. So we need to address the problem of dropouts also. And we need to have encouragement sessions, we need to have motivational sessions for the learners, and the academic fraternity has to be empathetically handling the issues of the learners. And some learners are at the same time very quick, and they are able to grasp the academic content very easily and move ahead. So, when we talk about why do we really need learner support services, basically we have to understand that it is required at the pre-entry stage, then during the course of the study, while they are studying. There are various processes which we'll be talking about in this session. And at the same time, for a smooth exit from the ODL university, many a times it should be complemented with job fairs and connect with the industries where they are given opportunity for employment. So this is basically, if I have to talk in steps, there are 3 steps. But the second step is the longest step, and there the need of the learner support services is the maximum. Now, for a learner, there are a lot of decision points at various stages. The learner is often grappled with the thought that, how do I continue? How do I balance my work life and family and everything together? When do I need to submit my assignments? I am not getting proper information, and I don't have a quiet corner in my house to study. And there's so many queries which the learners have from time to time. And all these need to be addressed at the academic counseling sessions, what we call day schools in OUSL, and we called it academic counseling sessions in context of IGNOU. So, but many a times what happens is that the sessions are expected by the learners to be classes. And it becomes a tutorial class where it's more of a transaction of teaching learning, and these issues are many a times left unaddressed. And that results in somewhere withdrawal of the student many a times. So we need to think about that. Now the question arises how the learner support services should be. What are the parameters which should be covered while designing learner support services? So first of all, and the most important, is the information. The communication channel should be there. It should be strengthened, because the most of the complaints which we receive from learners is regarding information. I do not know when I have to submit my assignments. I do not know, when my material is reaching me. I do not know the schedule of the classes. And we really cannot blame the learners, because though we are informing them, it is published on the IGNOU website, or I'm sure at OUSL website, there are program guides, there are, communication through email many a times goes. But many a times learners are not able to get them, or maybe they have not attended an orientation program initially, they've missed it because of their schedules. So that kind of an information system has to be designed, has to be communicated regularly in terms of SMS alerts. Then classes has to be, or the tutorials or counseling sessions has to be organized from time to time to address the different aspects of the learner. There has to be administrative support also, and there has to be emotional support. So talking about that, when we see the learner, basically the learner has to have 3 kind of supports. That's what we have been able to categorize as of now. When we have talked about academic support, academic support is the content delivery. It could be a face-to-face delivery, or it could be through various, e-content, or LMS Moodle is what is popular now in all the open and distance learning universities. Or even it could be through, say, face-to-face interaction through Zoom and other digital platforms. So that is one aspect. The other aspect is administrative aspect. Right from the time the learner enters the university, be it registration or pre-entry counseling, or various kind of forms the learner has to submit, or a submission of assignment, appearing for the examination, filling the examination form, and various other facilities, all that is conducted and organized by the different administrative units. In the case of IGNOU, it is the regional center and study center, and here it is done by different departments. And the third aspect, and the most important aspect, is the emotional aspect. And the learners need a lot of motivation, a lot of encouragement to continue with their programs, to continue with their courses, and timely, because many a times what happens that we see that the learners are lagging behind, and then they become less motivated, and it results in a high dropout rate. So we need to address all these issues very effectively and very systematically. Now when we talk about the academic support, it is first of all, the learner has to understand how do I read my SLMs, that is self-learning materials, because the teacher is integrated in the course. And so the teacher has to really, initially in the first session, the learner has to understand that how to cope up with the SLMs. And that is why orientation programs are very important. And then the multimedia inputs, which is given to the learner from time to time in form of video and audio supplements, and different kind of OERs are provided to learners to understand different types of presentations, which is relevant for the learner. Then how to write the assignment. That is again very important, because getting good grades, there's one initiative by one of the faculty even in OUSL, how to get good grades. So training about that, how you have to write the assignments, how you have to submit it timely, and then providing feedback on the assignments, which is very important. Many a times the learners submit the assignments on time, but there is some delay because of so many other environmental factors, and the learners are not able to get timely feedback. So that is very important. Now when we talk about academic support, there are two types of academic support. There is synchronous and there is asynchronous. Synchronous, in order to understand it simplistically, it is same time, same place, or it could be same time but different place. When we talk about different place, it is best example is distributed classrooms. And we have seen it, same place, same time. In case of OUSL, it is Zoom classes. All the classes have shifted to Zoom classes. Then if the classes are conducted in day schools, and in case of IGNOU, it is study centers where the classes are held. And Google Meet is usually used for taking online classes. And all the other interactions like TV, radio, the live programs, interactive radio counseling. So all this is a form of synchronous learning. And then there's lab, and all the sciences have lab facilities, science disciplines. So the hands-on training is also provided in synchronous academic support. And then there is asynchronous, that is LMS Moodle can be an example of that. Then the SLMs are the example, the self-learning material, the printed form, and the web repositories are an example of that. YouTube lectures which are recorded and put on the websites and different repositories are an example of that. And then the podcast and audio and TV broadcast, radio, which are recorded and played at different times of the day for the convenience of the learners. So they are asynchronous, and both these synchronous and asynchronous plays a very important role when we talk about learner support services. And even I would say peer support, because when we have these WhatsApp groups and online groups, the students are able to interact with each other. The discussion forums also enable interaction with the teacher and with the other peer learners. Now when we talk about the non-academic support or the administrative support, there are whole gamut of support which is required for the learners, and it could be like registration, or say conducting an entrance test, or it could be orientation programs, it could be study materials, or it could be say counseling schedule, or it could be holding the term end examination where the learners would be sitting, the entire organization and preparations, taking out the results, when the convocation will be held, how the degree will be distributed, the constitution of award ceremony, organizing everything, even the, how the clocks will be given to the learners. So all these minute things are done as part of administrative support. And most important of the administrative support is the communication, because, we are doing this research also, and what we are finding out is the communication, which is the most important for the learner, because the learners, in order to resolve their queries, resolve their grievances, communication plays a very important role. And now with the ICT, we have a lot of opportunity to communicate to the learners and timely communicate to the learners, and addressing their grievances and maintaining database of learners where, the entire enrollment of learners are maintained. And even if the learner requests for a change of study center or a regional center, addressing to those concerns, change of course or medium of instruction. In India, like for example, it is offered in English, Hindi, and many of the regional languages. The regional centers, they take the responsibility of translating the course in the regional language. For example, if it is offered in Karnataka, it may be translated to Kannada, or similarly, whatever language is prevalent. So I'm sure here also the self-learning materials are translated in, say, Sinhalese or Tamil. And the student may take admission in English and may want to switch to another medium. So all that request is entertained by the administrative divisions. Now, administrative support can be offered through, again, regional centers or study centers. It could be offered through various administrative divisions, and there are student evaluation divisions, student registration division, and various other gamut of divisions which handles different kind of queries of the learners. Then a use of technology like mails and texts, bulk SMS, and through even addressing the learners through, many a times the administrators take this responsibility of addressing the learners initially, that how they have to navigate their way for different requirements during this course of study. Even they address through radio and television, and I'm sure you would be like at OUSL, it would be done through YouTube and other media channels, where or Facebook Live, where you could just address the learners. And especially because this is now, it's the time where we really need to focus on addressing the learners more frequently, because as I said earlier also, they require emotional support, and in terms of giving them motivation, in terms of giving them encouragement to continue. There should be lectures on soft skills, where the learners are told about the time management, where the learners are told about the study habits, how they can have good study habits, how they can maintain time, and how they can complete their studies in time. So all that is required. I remember our Vice Chancellor at IGNOU addressing, he had a lot of addresses through Facebook Live series during the pandemic, wherein he assured the learners that you do not need to worry. We will manage, we will see, we will either accordingly shift our schedules of term and examinations and other requirements, assignments, and then gradually we will update you. And there was continuous update on the IGNOU website about how the mode of assignment submission changed, the mode of examination changed, the mode of the content delivery changed. And so when such lectures are organized, it becomes very motivational and encouraging for the learners, because they feel that they are not isolated. And that is the problem which all of us as ODL educators often feel, that learners often feel isolated and they lack the feeling of belonging. And so we can address that by providing all kind of emotional support. So having said all of it, I would say the main objective of Learner Support Service across the universities, across the departments, because we know that every department, every faculty has a different set of Learner Support Service as per the requirement of the course. It is very course specific, it is very learner centric specific. But even across all ODL institutions and across all departments, we can say that the main objective of LSS is to make entry into open and distance learning and exit from open and distance learning system very easy. So this is in one line. If I have to wrap up, I would focus on this. Now, talking about the ICT enabled support, there has been a lot of ifs and buts, and there has been a lot of debate about even amongst learners. Some of them initially said that no, we would want the day schools, or we would want the face-to-face academic counseling sessions. And later, when we, after say 1.5 years or 2 years, and now when we are asking the learners their feedback, most of the learners want online classes. And why is it so? Because they can study from anywhere, anytime, even while they're cooking, and they can attend their classes. Because as I said earlier, we have more female learners, we have more people who are employed, and for them to study at any time, anywhere is very easy, because it saves not only the time but also the cost. And even for the disabled people, the differently abled people, it is a very it's a boon that they can attend. They don't have to travel and come to the center to attend classes. They can attend from their homes. So there has been a lot of benefits. These are some of the benefits which I have tried to list. So now we would talk about the learner support services at OUSL. I had a series of interaction with the faculty of the deans of the faculties, and I've tried to understand, even with the help of Dr. Rominda in IRU, about the different learner support services. And what we have found is that there are learner support services at every stage, which is there, and it is evolving. And there's a separate learner support unit also, which is established newly. And so right from the time of, say, open days of counseling the learners about choosing their course, to getting registered in a particular course, then organizing orientation programs, having day schools or classes through Zoom, or even LMS Moodle, uploading the videos, uploading PPTs, trying to upload the OERs also so that learners can have more reading, because we need to integrate open educational resources. And then there's library facilities, there's laboratory facilities, and Faculty of Natural Sciences specially mentioned that there's a PASS program where it is a peer-assisted learning, wherein the seniors take sessions for the juniors, and so it encourages peer learning also. So all these initiatives and many more initiatives are really beneficial for the learners and motivates them to continue and not drop out or not even lag behind. And besides that, there is evaluation and assignments, and there is a provision of financial aid to learners, bursaries and Mahapolas. There are SLMs which are both in print and online materials are uploaded on the website. And I also learned that some of the faculties have now decided to completely stop with the print materials. So that is, again, one has to think about it, because we have to see all the learners, even who are in rural, remote areas, whether they have internet facility. So I'm sure such feedback would have been taken before deciding that. So then My OUSL is a student portal where the learners can, see the entire their profile and their other aspects, maybe the assignments or the old question papers and things like that. And through the use of bulk SMS and email, there is a communication channel which is set between the learner and the university. Now, coming to Indira Gandhi National Open University, first we need to understand that it's a mega university, world's largest open and distance learning university. And presently there are 34 lakh learners who are enrolled in the university. So with this understanding we have to approach, because the services are also again of that, quite extensive, and there's a regional center, there are regional centers and there are study centers. So it's a mega university, as I said. So there are TV broadcasts, there are radios, and there's Gyan Vani, Gyan Darshan. A lot of technological innovations have been put in place, and we will be talking about it as the session progresses. There are, besides the traditional learner support services like self-learning materials, both print and online, then there is audio-video materials, there are radio 24/7 radios, and then there's a television broadcast, there is different kind of laboratory facilities for sciences, medical sciences, nursing, engineering and technology, then teleconferencing, web conferencing, webcasting. And some of the best practices, if I have to list, then IGNOU was accredited A++ ranking in 2020, and this is the first time an open and distance learning university has been accredited in India, and so it was like done successfully. And there's multi-channel learning, as I mentioned, that besides the didactic transaction of teacher-learner, it is also done through many other sources, and there is a flexible learning environment. The entry is also quite flexible. Many, like for example, in my program of MSW, the entry requirement is graduation. There are no entrance tests because the access has always been, the philosophy of distance education has been to give access to as many learners and to address the equity concerns. So we say that a person who's a graduate from a recognized university can enroll in the program. And there is also a scheme of credit transfer where the learner has studied from some other university and would want a credit transfer for the courses which are similar here. So that provision is also there. Then the delivery mechanism is very vast. As I said, there are regional centers and there are study centers. And then the qualifications are recognized worldwide, and learners have gone across the world to pursue their higher education or to get employment. And job fairs are organized by Campus Placement Cell, collaborating with different industries to get them gainful employment. The digital initiatives have been also quite vast in terms of e-support to learners. There are LMS, there are online registration. All the processes have become online, starting from admission till the convocation. All the processes are online. Student can get their ID card, the hall ticket, everything online. The learner has e-profile, and so all these registrations and all these learner-centric services have become online. eGyan Kosh is a national digital repository which houses all sorts of videos which are produced in the university. It has the Indian Journal of Open Learning. There's a journal which is published from IGNOU. So it has all the copies of IJOL. Then it has all the contents, e-content available of all the programs in both English and Hindi. So everything is uploaded there and learners can read. Now, academic counseling is held, as I said, in study centers. All the academic counseling sessions, when they were held face-to-face before the pandemic, it was held at the study centers. And now, with the shift in the entire delivery mechanism, it is held through Google Meet by academic counselors. And academic counselors are the part-time teachers who are a pool of teachers are employed by IGNOU. There's a portal again for applying for academic counselor, and if they are found eligible, they are approved, and then the portal generates the letter also. So that is also again digitized and automated. So besides that, there is also interactive radio counseling when there are radio sessions which are live. It's a phone-in program where the learners can ask questions and get responses, or they can send through chat or email. And so that is also a way of providing academic counseling and providing the academic content to learners. And not only academic content, even the administrators, they take, like from regional center staff also take sessions to provide the information regarding various processes. And besides that, there is Gyandhara, which is webcasting and audio streaming through the internet. And here also learners can interact with the experts. Then there are use of social media platforms like Facebook Live, then Twitter and WhatsApp, and all sorts of social media groups are used to impart information. School of Computer Sciences has now started QR-based SLM, and where the student can just scan the QR code and get all the information. Even OER is available there, all sorts of videos, a program guide, and all sorts of information which a learner would require and would have to go to different places to get it. It is a one-stop arrangement which is now experimented with. Podcast is again where a lot of lectures of management, it started with the Management School of Management Studies, and a lot of people who are, who've been successful in the industry, they record their lectures, and it is available, and it is called Freedom to Learn for the learners, in order to motivate them, in order to make them understand what's going on in the industry. And SWAYAM is a Government of India MOOC platform where the learners can study free of cost. IGNOU offers presently their certificate and diploma programs, and different nodal agencies have been identified like Indian Institute of Management, Indian Institute of Technology, Delhi University. So there are different nodal agencies which has been identified, and they have been given different level of education to be granted. And if a learner wants to get a certificate, the learner can fill the form, pay the fees, and appear for the exam, which is conducted by a national testing agency. And they can also get a credit transfer for whatever course they have taken, and get admitted, lateral entry into the IGNOU, any of the IGNOU course, or anywhere all over India. So that is another facility which is given. IGNOU Udyami is the entrepreneurship initiative for the students. Whoever are innovative entrepreneurs, they are recognized, and they are given awards, and they are given support and promotion to become budding entrepreneurs. Swayam Prabha is a channel which is a 24/7 basis it runs, and it has 4 channels has been given to IGNOU. And this is also a Ministry of Education and Ministry of Information and Broadcasting as initiative. And we have got channels for social sciences and humanities, then basic and applied sciences, then professional and vocational education, state open universities, and teacher education. So the recorded videos also play there, and we also go for live sessions there. And all the DTH channels have to air these channels on both the Gyan Darshan and Swayam Prabha channels. So that is the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting directives to all the DTH channels. Gyan Darshan is again television program, and we have electronic media production center like SETME, and we have this 24/7 television and radio programs are broadcasted from there. iGram is a digital initiative to address the queries and the grievances of the learners. The learner can post a query, and there's a student support center in the headquarters as well as in every study center and regional center. So they would address the problem, and they will direct it wherever it is concerning. Like if it is academic program related query, they will send it to the program coordinator. If it is study material query, they will send it to the material production and dispatch unit. So it directs, and within very few days the answer has to be given to the learner, because a token is generated which the learner can quote and get back. The National Center for Innovations in Distance Education is another unit which holds innovation club at IGNOU frequently, and it encourages innovation both by the faculty and learners. And often meetings are organized now through Google Meet. Earlier it was face-to-face, wherein the faculty shares the innovations he or she is doing in his or her area, and that is disseminated amongst all, so that we get to know what is happening in other departments. Because as I said in the beginning, learner support services are very varied, and it varies across the disciplines. So that kind of a sharing is done by Innovation Club. And then there's a portal now designed, Vyas, which is a web-enabled academic support, where all it's again a one-stop arrangement for the learner, where everything is uploaded, and the learner can just go to the Vyas portal and see the program guide, the content, the videos, all the information, and also gets to interact with the program coordinator from time to time. Some of the unique initiatives are fees exemption of transgender students for all the programs, free of cost education to all the jail inmates, and there's a scheme of fee reimbursement for scheduled caste and scheduled tribe population, and the number of courses for which it is mentioned, generally it is not applicable to all the courses, but there are certain courses which is listed under this. Then there is a National Center for Disability Studies, which looks after all the concerns and addresses the concerns of disabled learners, and accordingly advocates for change in the delivery mechanism and adapt to the needs of the disabled learners. Now, Wawasan Open University Malaysia also has similar way of offering their programs through the use of LMS, and they have Wawasan Care for students. It's a students portal for them to understand, like the way we have been talking about. They have used OER materials to prepare their self-learning materials. So that is another good initiative by the university. And they have a press to print their SLMs, and also it is available online. Now, in the Open University of Mauritius, again, they have a Moodle platform. They make use of Skype and videos and text messages. And the one unique initiative is that they provide free of cost tablets to the students who are enrolled in their degree programs. So with this, I think we have now kind of very well understood the learner support services which is required, and we have seen a bird's eye view of different universities, how they are managing their learner support services. So now there are also challenges with learner support services. The most important challenge is lack of ICT facilities, both at the level of the university and also for the learners. The devices, because before the pandemic we saw that not many learners had devices to study online, and now also we are seeing that most of the learners are studying through their smartphones, and though some of them do have laptops, but what happens to the students who are in rural areas, who are in remote tribal areas? Then the skills required to navigate through online learning, that is another challenge. Gradually learners are learning, gradually teachers are learning, because it is also the skills required by teachers to transact the teaching learning process. Then the medium of instruction, the language in which the course materials are designed. There are financial problems both at the level of university and at the level of the students. Then the social learning aspect is another problem, because now when we are shifting to online classes, what happens to the social learning of the learners? That is again another question which the educators and the ODL universities have to think about. Then the teaching workloads, it is increasing manifold. We can see that our teachers are burdened with a lot of more assignments. So that has to be thought about, how to manage that. There is also resistance to change. Many people do not want to adapt to online technology, so that has to be addressed. Then the high cost of technology, then technological devices and data for both the learners and the faculty. The administrative challenges are also there, where the students do not receive the study materials on time. So that is also, or they are having a lack of information. Then managing access and quality at the same time. We have to manage, we have to address, we have to adhere to the philosophy of open and distance learning. But at the same time, we have to also ensure our quality. So that is another challenge. Now, the suggestions or recommendations which we've been discussing, and some of them I have noted down, is that if we have a separate learner support unit, which with adequate staff, with the kind of a call center facility which is available from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. and the dedicated staff only takes the queries of the learners. That is one possibility. If there's a chat facility, if there is a digital grievance redressal mechanism, then information support to learners from time to time. Email should be sent, SMS alerts can be sent to learners. Like for example, if they have to submit assignment by 15th of December, the SMS alerts can be sent 2-3 times, starting from, say, 1st December, that kind of a facility. Then liaisoning with different departments, because many a times we see that Faculty of Management Studies is doing something, but Faculty of Natural Sciences is not aware about that. So that kind of liaisoning is very important. Because in IGNOU, we have this IGNOU DigiNews. That is a very useful initiative which we find. Every day, whatever is happening in the university, it's a digital magazine of 5 pages or 6 pages will be sent to all. Every employee of the university, be it study center, regional center, or headquarters. So even sitting here, I know what is happening in the university. So that is one very good initiative. And that is also, I think, a recent initiative. So that kind of initiative is also, if it's done, it is very good. Then learners' feedback. Time to time, we need to take feedback. Whatever was relevant 3 years back may not be relevant today, or whatever is relevant today may not be relevant tomorrow. So that kind of a continuous learners' feedback and monitoring is important. then every faculty or a department can have a learner support cell. Again, because many a times the faculty, everybody is busy, and if the learner support unit has to coordinate with a particular faculty, then whom he or she should address to or approach to. Then if a dedicated, maybe with 1 or 2 staff, there's a learner support cell in every faculty, that problem can be sorted. Then we need to go for automation in support services. There should be a provision of tracking of study materials and tracking of other, like if my registration is confirmed, all that has to be online and it has to be automated. Monitoring of support services from time to time is very important. A kind of a IVRS system, if we have a technology-centric interactive voice response system, that would be also very helpful. And capacity building workshops and trainings for faculty is very important, because all of us may not be very technological savvy, and we need to understand and be trained. And then the communication to learners about each process is also very important. If the learner has missed the orientation programs, then how would learner know about the processes? So time to time communication to learners is also very important. So we need to have a technological plan in place, we need to have IT policy in place, we need to have allocation of budget, and we should be able to cope up with technological failures, because there should be a backup plan. Because that happens when there is a shift in IT, if there's a failure or if there is some problem with the IT, the entire system collapses. So there should be a backup plan. And of course, in designing all of this, we have to think about the differently abled, that it should be inclusive of people with disability. International collaborations, national collaborations, all affiliations can be done to learn from each other. Research and innovative pedagogy is a continuous process, and it should be encouraged in every university. If we have a digitized interactive learning material, we have to keep on innovating, keep on updating, and keep on developing. So with this, I come to the end of the session. And to conclude, again, I would like to reiterate that we have to design our learner support services in such a way that the entry, usually we say entry into ODL system is easy, but exit is not easy. And that should not be the case. It should be the entry should be as smooth and the exit should be as smooth as the entry. So that is how we have to plan our learner support services. And the most important thing is sharing of experiences, like the way we are sharing today. So we can always share experiences of many universities and learn from each other. And we have to design and implement appropriate learner support services, and ensure that social interaction and communication, information dissemination is at the heart of it. So with this, thank you all. Thank you so much for listening to me.
Thank you very much, Dr. Soumya, for your interesting and very comprehensive presentation on the learner support system. So although you said it is a bird's eye view, it's like an eagle's view. It is so sharp and cut across the different systems. And you compared the small population, like the Sri Lankan population, which is about 25 million, and the Open University is serving to this 25 million, while and also with the mega university like the IGNOU, which is serving about 1 billion population, and also the Vawasan University. So there are many things that we could share and many ways that we could develop, isn't it? And also we saw that what are the challenges in implementing this type of learner support system. So you nicely recognize the way forward as well. I think those suggestions, so those recommendations are very important. And I think some of them are, I think we need to implement in this country as well. So usually this discussion, usually this type of presentation is followed by the discussion. We know there are many things that we can discuss, many things that we need to learn from the basic facts that was presented in this talk. Therefore, to have this discussion, I would like to invite Ms. Mayanti Kulatunga Jayakodi, senior the lecturer in the Education Technology in the Center for Education Technology and Media. So she would be conducting this interview, and the floor is open for this discussion now.
Dr. Soumya, thank you so much for that interesting and very informative presentation. And I was quite fascinated and impressed by some of the learner support systems that you all follow at the Indira Gandhi National Open University. So I have a few questions that I have for you today regarding what I learned from your presentation. First of all, could you please explain to us how a study program is delivered to a learner at the IGNOU?
Thank you for your inputs. And yes, I would like to explain to you that IGNOU is a three-tier mechanism. It follows to deliver a program. We have at the headquarters, we have IGNOU, the main office, and then we have regional centers all across the country. And there are around 57 regional centers which are spread in different states. And a state like Delhi, which is quite large, so we have 3 regional centers in Delhi itself. So that way in every state there are regional centers, and then further there are study centers. So study centers are identified by regional centers, and they are located in the government colleges all across the country. So when a program is launched, then it is the regional center seeks the opinion of the study center, which study center would be taking that program. Because depending on the capacity of the staff they have, who are the academic counselors basically, they are part-time teachers, and these academic counselors are identified by the study centers, and they apply on the online portal, and the program coordinator, seeing the eligibility criteria, approves it online, and a letter is generated. So they liaison with all these academic counselors, and they are the ones who would take the course. So if my program MSW is offered, then I would inform all the regional centers that I am launching this program, and the regional centers would further coordinate with study centers, and few of the study centers may choose that they would want to offer this program depending on the enrollment of the learners. And the academic counselors would take the session, would take all the classes. And from time to time, the program coordinators conducts workshops, or if, like for example, certain disciplines have more face-to-face offering, so they would conduct special sessions from the headquarters, maybe a 2-week or a 3-week. And for practicals, there are labs identified all across India where the learners would be doing the practicals. So that is how a program is usually offered.
So, in general, what sort of issues are met by or faced by the Indian learner?
If I have to club it, it would be mostly related to information. Because as I said in the discussion, like initial session also, that the learners are not able to, if they are busy, they are not able to attend their induction program or the orientation programs. And then they do not read the program guide. So what happens is that many of the time they are not well versed with the system, they are not well versed with the different updates. For example, when they have to attend classes or where exactly they have to go for their practical sessions. So that is what they usually say, that we need to have SMS alerts, we need to be informed about every such process through our email. So it should be very personalized. That is the demand of the learners. Though there are different ways of addressing, but again we have to understand the learners and accordingly plan.
So when they come to you with these queries, what sort of a system do you follow? Is there a particular process you follow when you are resolving those problems?
Usually the learners first approach the study centers. Earlier, before the pandemic, there was more face-to-face interactions and more face-to-face resolving of queries. Now it is online, so they use the medium of emails. They write emails to the program coordinators also, to the regional centers, or to the concerned division. If it is to do with the material, they would write to MPDD, that is a material production unit. If it has to do with the evaluation, they would write to student evaluation division, that's a separate unit. If it is related to registration, they would write to student registration division. And also IGRAM, as I mentioned, that is the grievance redressal mechanism. So they put it on the portal. Then they don't have to bother find emails of different people, because all these emails are given to them in the program guide, and it is also on the IGNOU website. So they would just post a query there and it would be resolved to them. It will be sent to them through mail, their queries, answers.
Right. And this support services that you have been rendering to your learners. So with the COVID-19 pandemic, so many things have changed in our personal lives and our professional lives also. So I'm sure your services also have taken a different shift.
Yes.
From face-to-face to online.
Yes.
How has that affected, this shift has affected the service that you provide to your learners?
It has now, as we are seeing, initially there was resistance to change, as I was mentioning. Learners did not have devices to attend the online classes, and there was a period when the country went for lockdown that there was a lot of contemplation as to how we will shift, because
students also, the learners also would have complained.
Of course, they had no information, because the university was trying to understand how
the situation.
Because the assignments are usually handwritten. So how to submit the handwritten assignments, how to come out of the house. Because as I said, it is the study centers which is the contact point for learners. But the study centers are located in colleges, and all the colleges were closed. So it was a very problematic situation, and there was a lot of contemplation. There were committees made in the university to decide as to how we go about. So then the system evolved, wherein the learners were asked to scan the documents and upload it. And then all the assignments were uploaded by the students, and then the regional centers, they created a portal where the learners could upload their projects, like when they do internship, they have to write journals. So that also was uploaded. Initially there was problem of size, like particular size only the portal could take. Then that was again further improved to take more sizes, and that way, and then it was redirected to the academic counselors and other evaluators to evaluate them and upload it. So all the system changed to online, because there was no physical contact with either between the learner and the staff. The staff was also working for a long time from home, as per the government directives. So everything, all the teaching learning process started through online. The classes shifted to Google Meet, and all these, or initially we started with Zoom, then there was limitation of Zoom, and then we shifted to Google Meet and WebEx and Team, whatever was digital platforms were used, and WhatsApp and Facebook Live, and all these social media platforms became very active and very useful. So gradually the student started understanding it, and in fact it was a kind of a compulsory thing for them to buy a smartphone. Because even at home, the students' classes, their children classes shifted to online. So the devices were bought, and I think the maximum number of devices were bought during the pandemic. Because it was kind of
it was an essential
thing to do. So that way, initially there were problems, but now it is more smooth. Though some of the learners still want the face-to-face classes to continue, especially the first-year students who are new to the system, because they don't get to see their teachers or the entire physical setup. So that is a thing which we have to think, because we don't know when the pandemic will end.
That's
so
true.
That is, the situation.
So Dr. Soumya, you also spoke about some of the emotional problems that are faced by your learners. Could you elaborate a little bit on those problems, the emotional problems that they have?
Yes, sure. Emotional problems are like the problems which they are having at home front, because we are doing this as part of this fellowship also. We are doing a small research wherein we have sent a Google form to learners, and we are trying to gauge what are the emotional problems, because we know the academic challenges and the administrative challenges. But when we try to understand what are the other problems besides that when the students drop out. So what we have seen is that they have problem at the home front, where for them to manage their work, the family and studies is difficult. Many of them do not have their own personal space to study. Many of them undergo other health anxieties, or there are anxieties because of some of the learners even pointed out that my marriage got postponed due to COVID, and that is causing me anxiety.
Yes.
And that is not letting me concentrate.
Yes.
So the problems are varied. And what we need to understand is that the learners need some kind of a support, some type of one-to-one interaction.
Yes.
And that is only possible when there are counselors in every faculty or say department who could also talk to them. And that is what was the main purpose of academic counseling, as I shared in the session also.
Yes. Yes.
Where they could also talk about something personal, managing time, managing, they are not able to decide how to go about their studies, planning, like what courses they should take in the first year, then in the second year, and how they should go about. Because in a conventional system, it's all planned for you. It's like one size fits all.
Yeah.
But here we don't have that. Here every learner is different, and their problems are different.
Yeah.
And we need to have more learner-centric approach. And it is possible in Sri Lanka because the number is less here.
Yes.
As compared to a larger country where the numbers are, huge, and any system
you
to
said
be
you have
planned.
34 lakhs learners.
Learners.
That's a lot. That's a massive number.
Even in my program, there are 50,000, more than 50,000 learners enrolled. So you can imagine, as a program coordinator, for me to design any learner support for my particular program is very difficult, because I have to think about that there are learners from so many geographical, and as you know, India is a very large country.
Yeah.
So there are variety of geographical terrains. There are some very remote and very difficult geographical terrain to reach. And there are some urban areas, some metro areas. So when we plan, we think about the surrounding area, like, okay, online is fine, but what about the learner who's living, say, even very, very remotely, where the learner even has to take maybe a ship to come to the main city, and does not have internet facility. How will that learner cope up? So we have to think that way, and then design any of the learner support services.
Regarding this emotional problems, a little bit more on that. I was wondering now, to come forward and speak about the emotional problems, you have to let go of some of your inhibitions. You have to have a certain amount of courage to talk about your emotional problems. So is there a particular mechanism that you all follow to identify some of the learners who don't come forward and talk about their emotional problems?
Then they use the medium of email.
Okay. Right.
That is what we are seeing. Even in online classes, what we are seeing is that students are more comfortable to chat.
Right.
The students
because it's not happening face to face.
So the people who are not very, courageous to speak in the class normally, they are comfortably chatting, and they are putting up their points or their answers or their queries. And similarly, what we see that the learners then prefer to email, because I receive a lot of mails of learners wherein they have shared the problems which they are undergoing and why they are not able to submit it on, like, their assignments on time, and they are lagging behind, and they want now opinion as to how they can manage. Because during COVID-19 especially, we saw that almost every family was affected, and there were cases in every family, and so they had to cope up with a lot of emotional dilemmas and anxieties. So then it is that is one medium which we usually see the learners interact like that, because again since the number is so large, we really cannot go to each and every learner.
You can't, it's not possible.
It's not possible. So in that way, these are certain mechanisms wherein, or in smaller WhatsApp group, they do share problems, or we get to know from academic counselors many a time.
Right.
Because the students gets very familiar with academic counselor, they take their sessions, and in smaller towns, it's more easier because the number are less. And academic counselor can address their problems. So that is how it is usually addressed and catered to.
Okay. Just one last question, Dr. Soumya. Sure. You mentioned that the non-academic staff also has a big role to play in providing learner system support, learner support services. So at some point, do you all get together, the academic staff and the non-academic staff, and discuss as to how you could collaborate and, provide a better service to your learners, or does it happen separately?
No, we collaborate. Even when we go for, say, as I was mentioning, teleconferencing or video conferencing or on TV, when we are having live session, there would be one person, how we planned when we have to deliver both the academic and administrative input to learners. What we plan is one person from the regional services division would be there, one person from the regional center would be there, and one program coordinator can be there. And all three of us can discuss and address the problems of the learners.
Yeah.
Because then whatever is related to program content I can address, and whatever is administrative aspect they can address. So that is how even in workshops we plan together. And whenever we have workshops for our academic counselors or for our learners, we do that way, that we involve the administrators. And also when a program is delivered, all the administrative divisions have to be taken into consideration, and approvals have to be taken. They have to be informed. And like for example, I'm planning to, I have designed a program and I'm planning to launch it in this particular semester.
Yeah.
I have to go and speak to registrar, student evaluation division, registrar, registration,
staff.
yeah, all the non-academic staff, and take their opinion, take their feedback, take their approval. So that it is, because unless and until it is collaborated, it is very difficult to,
Yes. Yeah.
if all are disjointed.
True.
So that way,
Yeah.
that collaboration is done.
Yeah. Okay, Dr. Soumya, thank you so much. I think being situated in the same region, India and Sri Lanka, we have so many common traits among the teachers and the learners, everybody. So your presentation, as I said at the beginning, was very, very informative, and there was so much to learn from you, which we could implement in the Open University of Sri Lanka. So thank you so much once again.
Thank you, Mayanti, and it's been a pleasure, and thank you so much. Even it's a great opportunity for me here, for me to be here and learn from Open University of Sri Lanka. So it's a mutual learning,
Yes.
and mutually beneficial for all of us. Thank you so much.